The very famous Nelson Mandela once said, and I quote, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." With this, a very warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, IAS. I would also like to welcome Controller of Examinations and Director of Student Council, Professor Johnny Joseph Sir, Dr. Suja Ma'am, and Dr. Roy Sir, other panelists, my dear fellow Christites, and the audience who has joined us from far and wide. I am Meenakshi Prashant, and it is my privilege to be the moderator for this session. Before we begin the session, I request all the Christites to look out for a Google form that will be shared on the YouTube comment section. It is a feedback and attendance claim form. It is mandatory for you to fill it. Daksh is an annual education and career guidance fair organized by the Student Council of Christ, deemed to be university. It focuses on the various opportunities made available to pre-university, undergraduate, and postgraduate students. The platform enables students to acquire knowledge and make informed choices regarding their higher education and careers. Career Dialogues is a distinctive feature of Daksh, wherein eminent and established figures from diversified fields are invited to share their invaluable experiences, accompanied with their expert opinion about the future prospects lying ahead for students wishing to pursue a career in these fields. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our speaker for the session, Honorable Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Sir, who will be gracing this occasion with his insights on civil service exams and career opportunities in government sector. Let me take a moment to introduce Sir. Dr. Sanjeev Kumar IAS, Additional Chief Secretary and Chief Electoral Officer, Karnataka State, has 32 years of experience in public administration and governance in the area of planning and administrative reforms and other commendable fields of governing. Among many of his achievements, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar successfully conducted the 2018 Karnataka Legislative Assembly elections and parliamentary elections 2019 in Karnataka State. He contributed to various aspects of electoral policies, including policies on accessible election, EVM or VVPAT management, electoral registration, and the use of ICT in election. In the year 2019, he received the National Award for Excellence in Election Management from the President of India. Sir, we are very honored and excited to hear from you. Before I hand it over to you, sir, I would like to point out for the benefit of the audience that any questions for the speaker can be posted at the end of the session of the talk. Without further ado, I humbly request you, sir, to begin with your talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Meenakshi. Good morning to everyone. Dr. Johnny Joseph and other faculty members who are present, and Christ students and other invitees who are connected from various places. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to have a dialogue with you. But at the outset, I will tell that I'm really a very, very, in a way, less informed person to talk to you on the subject, because I have not taken exams just now. A person who would have taken exam last year probably would have been the best person to give you better insights. I took it in 1985, and since 86, I am in Indian Administrative Service. So my exam tryst was 36 years earlier. But nevertheless, with whatever experience I have and general interaction with young people, what I gather, I'm trying to give you an overview of civil services. And the subject was expanded because it was not just civil services exams. I was told to give a general overview of career opportunities in government. Now, career opportunities in government certainly is a very, very, very wide thing, and it has many aspects. It has more than civil services, and that has to be kept in mind, although government is the largest and most diverse employer, and it gives decent employment with stability and predictability. But decent employment, as really understood by international labor standards, may not really fit with government employment because of certain very unusual features of it. Because work-life balance, as this decent employment talks of, may not sometimes be there. There are special protections in our constitution under Article 312 to the public servants, and they can't, but because of those protections of removal against they cannot just be removed without due process. So they have protection against arbitrary removal, but they are also bound by conduct rules, and they cannot unionize, and none of the labor laws are applicable to them, and they are supposed to be 24 hours on duty. So anytime they can be called, and most of the people are unable to really use their leave and leisure, and most of them will be working more than really enjoying their leisure. So these things have to be kept in mind, but nevertheless a stability is there because of this Article 312, as well as predictability and career progression is there. So there is a semblance of assured working condition, compensation, social security, and enriching work content and opportunity. And there are diverse careers. Now, one is civil services in central government, state government. Railways also is a department, so that is again a civil service. And then armed forces is one of the big employer where all sorts of employment will be there. You will have general officers also of various kinds, but there will be technical officers like engineers, doctors, nurses, and other types of specialization and support staff. So it is a very, very, very huge employment opportunity. Similarly, judicial services and legal services are very huge opportunity in government, and at various levels, entry points are there at the level of judges also, and at the level of various types of prosecutors and government advocates, etc. Then you have got education, teaching, and scientists. They are really very wide in terms of employment opportunity. Many of you may not know, in most of the state government, 50% of the posts are actually education officers. So if government of Karnataka has 600 lakh permanent employees, 3 lakhs are teachers and officers of education department alone. Similarly, public sectors and parastatals of various kinds are again big employers, and miscellaneous appointments and lateral entries are there. Now, in armed forces, at the officers level, various type of employment is possible. NDA is after 12th, National Defense Academy, and written exams are there with maths 2.5 hours of 120 questions, 300 marks, general abilities 2.5 hours, English, GK, etc. And then persons who have minimum qualification mark qualify for SSB. Service Selection Board, where psychological aptitude and personality, eligibility, medical fitness, etc. are tested. That is a very, very intensive 5-day testing and interaction program, and rigorous endurance tests, etc. are done. Then you have Short Service Commission, where for short services, 5 to 10 years, you come through combined defense services exams. Then again, SSB is done, and through medical, etc., you finally join Indian Military Academy. And then technical graduates have entry courses for engineers and doctors and nursing staff, etc. And then support staff examinations are there. Similarly, judicial services, you have at various levels entries. Just after your LLB course, you can join at the lower judiciary level, where you become municipal magistrates. and magistrates of first class, and you are giving exams. Most of the states it is through the High Court, but in some states it is also through the Public Service Commission, and law, general knowledge, English, and local language is generally tested. Then you can enter at the higher judiciary level, where you directly become the district judge or additional district judge after 7 years of practice, and you have a preliminary, mains, and viva voce exams. Then direct appointments at High Court and above level is also possible. Then you have public sector opportunities. This is a very, very wide opportunity, because too many public sectors are there, but all of them have different routes, including banking may be one of the largest, including RBI. Then you have various types of organizations like Space Research Organization, or Atomic Energy, or BHEL, BEL, NTPC, Power Finance Corporation, SAIL, Oil India, ONGC. So many of them are there, and they provide you wide range of opportunity. Generally, in that you have preliminary exams, then main exams, and then you have English language exams. And based on all these, selections are there. Generally, it is based on merit, source, and also some social categories are there for which reservations will be there. Now, source of information for employment in government, because I have just given a broad overview, but you can always find in the website of Union Public Service Commission, Provincial Public Service Commission, website of High Courts. Employment news is a one source portal or a publication where many type of this opportunity can be found out. So find out those and what interests you to choose them. Then you have websites of various departments of central and state governments, newspapers, career magazines. Also, competition magazines carry these details. So from there also you can find. Now I come to the higher civil services exam, which is called UPSC or IAS exam, where it is maybe misnomer to call it IAS exam, because IAS is a very small service. In that there are so many other services, so IAS and allied services, and each of them provide wide range of opportunities. Now, why give the UPSC Civil Services exam? It is a unique career opportunity to work at both the grassroots level as well as policy level. In whichever department you are, you can at the bottom, at the start level, you are at the grassroots. So you are seeing what is happening, how it is implemented, how it is delivered to the doorsteps of the poor and needy, and also at the policy level. Then you have chance to make a real difference, and it's a fairly stable career progression where all India exams are conducted by UPSC, Union Public Service Commission. There is no nepotism, no favoritism. With the internet, there is no need of spending lakhs of rupees on coaching today. You can get lots of information on the internet itself. If you have time, you can research, you can get everything what you need. Any graduate in any stream above the age of 21 years can appear for the exam. Now, UPSC services may range from IAS, which is a diverse generalist service, and you have Indian Foreign Service, which is basically on diplomacy. So people are there in various, our diplomats who are in various countries in our embassies, and they will be doing whatever diplomatic assignments are provided to them. Then we have Indian Police Service, Indian Revenue Service, including income tax and customs, who deal now with the more GST as well as customs. Then Indian Audit and Account Service, Indian Corporate Law Service, Indian Defense Account Service, Indian Civil Account Service, then Railway Services, etc. And in these, generally 500 to 1,000 seats will be there. But maybe IAS may be around 10% of it. So it may range between 50 to 1,000. But each seat is not available to every person, because there are reservations, 50% based on social categories, SC, STs, and backward classes. For backward classes, it is based on merit cum means partly, and there are 10% additional for economic disabilities, then some 4-5% for persons with disabilities. So almost 65%, two-third maybe reservation. So for each person, the availability of that 50 also will be much lesser. So certainly it requires very rigorous preparation and exacting preparedness. Preliminary exams, 10 to 14 lakh people generally uh, uh, appear in terms of filling up of the forms. But finally, about 6 lakhs people may be appearing every year on an average for these 500 to 1,000 seats. And out of that, 50 to 100 may be becoming IAS, and others may be going to other services. Now, this preliminary exam is slightly tricky. It is objective general knowledge of 200 marks, multiple choice with negative marking. It has 1/3 negative marking, and objective aptitude paper, qualifying English, maths, logic. And this is qualifying, but maths again is tricky for some people. So uh, 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 sometimes uh, clearing this itself will be difficult. Generally, if 1,000 seats are there, 12 times, that is 12,000 people will be selected for the mains exam. So this itself decides uh, most of the time who is really in and who is not. And most of the people who are not well prepared may be out of the exams. Then main exams with 1750 marks as an English qualifying with 300 marks. Then a regional language also is qualifying 300 marks. Then essay papers are there with 250 marks. Then GS1 paper, 250 marks, history, geography, society, and Indian heritage and culture, etc., is included there. Then second GS has polity, governance, constitution, social justice, international relations, etc., of 250 marks. Then economic development, technology, biodiversity, environment, security, and disaster management as the third paper. And fourth paper of GS is ethics, integrity, and aptitude. All four are 250 marks and countable. So 1,000 marks are this itself. Now, this is a very wide range. Almost everything what you study between 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th is covered. And unless you are really thorough with them and you are thorough with current events and what is happening in the country and society and world around you, and you have kept abreast with everything, every development, it is really difficult to respond to what questions are there. And in mains, it is a descriptive type questions, and you have a precise number of words given. Those many words only be written. Never try to exceed. You have to be precise. You have to be absolutely definite and discrete. If you are exceeding those word limits, that means you are not conversant with the subject and you can't condense it. So one has to be really good and should exercise enough for precision and being concise in answering and to the point what is asked. Today, whatever answer papers are there, if you see the model answer paper, what you will find that you have pre-given space also. There is nothing like you can answer anything anywhere. Now answer sheets are something like it looks like each page has a number of which answer has to be there, and for each question which is asked, a specific slot is there. So within that itself, it has to be answered. So this is the fourth paper. Then you have two optional papers on a subject which you choose. It is a very wide range. Anything or everything what you do in graduation is a subject there. So if suppose you choose botany, from botany 2 papers will be there, botany 1 and 2. Or if you choose a language, it can be 2 papers of language. Or if you choose some other subject, mathematics, engineering, a few only are there. So you must see first what the list is and how it is aligned with your own knowledge, and based on that only you select. Certainly, there is lots of diversity in terms of question types, as well as one can get a percentage of marks in a paper depending on what paper is taken. But there is some sort of moderation between papers. Although some years, some of the papers people do well, other years, others. But don't go after what others are doing. You have to see your own comparative merit. See your own comparative merit, and based on that only to choose which subject to be chosen for this. But other four general studies paper, you have no choice. It is all compulsory, and you have to go through that rigmarole, and you have to really prepare well. Once you have taken mains, now when you are selected for personality test, it is 1:3. So if suppose 1,000 seats are there, 3,000 people will be selected for that. Personality test is 275 marks. Generally, it will range between 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or sometimes even more for each person. So this makes total 2025. Now, prelims marks are not added for the purpose of final merit, by which a merit list is prepared, and based on whatever is your choice of service and your merit list and your roster of reservation, you are given various whatever services are allotted. Now, within service also there is diversity, because within like IAS, IPS, which are all India services, you have got various cadres. Every cadre may not have the same type of work content. Some may be very small, some may be very large, which are like countries in themselves, the big states of India. And even governance within them will be very, very diverse. You will have to learn the language, because for doing local administration without knowing the language of the local people, you can't really deliver. So you have to pass 10th standard of that local language where you are allotted to. And unless you are really ready to serve anywhere in India, this Public Service Commission exams of civil services probably is not for you. But if you are ready to work anywhere, because in most probability, because only 1,000 people are chosen, within that 100 are in IAS, and within that very few are going to a state and your own home state, because only 1/3 of a seat available goes to the people coming from that state, and those seats also may be sometimes rostered. So you don't know, even if you are topper, it may not be that the first position holder also goes to his home state. He may be landing up in a state like Nagaland or Tripura or somewhere. So you should be ready to work anywhere. You should be ready to learn any new language where you are going, and adapting a new culture for that, for the service. And once you are determined for that, then only you should opt for this IAS, IPS, etc., which are all India services. And when to start preparing, it is always today. Start reading a good newspaper every day, and watch debate on Rajya Sabha TV. Master your graduation subject. Improve your writing skills, simple and precise writing. This is very important. Simple and precise writing. Confused, complicated, complex writing. Doing post-graduation, doing PhD, knowing more intensively a subject, and trying to replicate it in a small space which is provided for a small question may not fetch you much. But precise writing, writing to the point. Also, in sometimes it has been seen that how legibly you write, because many time in examination, taking examination is a skill, because within 3 hours you have to give so many answers, and if you are not really conversant with writing so much, and you are not very legible, then the person who is really correcting your papers may not really be impressed by what you are writing. So writing skill, your handwriting itself may sometimes, and how simple and correctly you are able to express, that all will go into your evaluation. So improve your writing skill. Simple and precise writing must try to learn. Develop a broad perspective, a multi-dimensional frame of mind. Every issue as a political, social, economic dimension. And you must examine, debate, and try to even write about those issues. And preparing for this exam is a journey. It will make you gender sensitive, tolerant, hardworking, aware, knowledgeable, confident, and disciplined. Don't be discouraged, because when you are taking this exam, uh, 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 15, 16 lakh people who really take up the form and fill up, that means they were all expiring. And then 5, 6 lakhs people muster courage that, okay, I am prepared enough to appear in prelims. But maybe not even 50,000 of them were serious, who really contested and really competed well, and finally some 12,000 are selected in the preliminary. And then after that, every level there is elimination. But even if you are eliminated, after this journey of hard work and toil and learning, because learning is not going to go away from you, it is a permanent asset. So anywhere you can use it. You can use it in your life. You can use it in private employment or other employment, uh, uh, wherever you are later on there. Now, the other side of it is very few seats are there, which are becoming fewer over time, require commitment of 1 full year for preparation. And also exam cycle itself is 1 year. That means 2 years goes prelims, then you have mains, then you have interview, you are waiting for results, and then finally it comes. So 2 year is cycle of one exam. So when you are taking a decision to get into this, you must weigh and do your own SWOT analysis: strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. Now, you should always have career backup, not one, but more than one. What you will do if this doesn't happen. But that should not discourage you from hard work and perseverance and trying for this. Now, reality of service is also should be known, that you can be posted in remote areas away from family and basic infrastructure. There may be frequent transfers, political interference at work, and high stress may be there, long hours of work may be there, no work-life balance for premier services like IAS, IPS, and others also may be there. Low salary and no pension may be there. Working in fast changing and uncertain environment is another thing, because government is in a flux like any other organization and society and the nation and world. So one should be ready to adapt to the digital thing as well as policy changes, what is happening. So do your own SWOT. You identify your strengths needed for civil services. I have listed a few, but you can further find and list for yourself what you think is a strength. Now, if you are good in your chosen subject, if you choose the subject you have read at the graduation level, it certainly makes a very strong entry, because that means 2 papers you are already prepared, or you are really confident of. If you have interest and aptitude for wide ranging general knowledge from the very beginning, you have something already with you. If you are good in written and oral communication and public speaking, if you have motivation for hard work and perseverance, because this is an exam which needs commitment for very, very hard work. It is a very wide, if you see four general studies, the papers were very, very diverse, and it required lots of reading, lots of effort, etc. So if you have motivation for that hard work and perseverance in you, then if you have interest in social service, social justice, inclusion, distributive justice, sustainability, including social, economic, and environmental, if these empathies are there with you and you are really motivated to do this, then civil service is for you. Otherwise, if these do not motivate and interest you, because most of the civil service is social service and social justice, which includes inclusion, distributive justice, sustainability of society, economy, and environment. Then, absolute integrity and ethics is very essential for civil services, because you are trustee of the society, of the whole country, and you are taking major decision which is really going to affect the public at large. So unless integrity and ethics is your forte and you are good at basic quantitative and verbal skills, again, these are very important. The prelims will not be difficult if you have good quantitative and verbal skills and general knowledge. If you are comfortable in NCERT books of science, humanities, and others, and if you are not averse to ambiguity and uncertainty. Now, I have only listed a few. Now, if even a few of these are there with you already, you are the right person. You have a strength already, which can be further strengthened, and on which you can count and go for civil services exam. Similarly, weaknesses: if you are not averse to public criticism in mass media and press, as many times such criticism will be there, but conduct rules doesn't permit you to go to the press and vindicate yourself. So you have to keep these in mind. If you are too sensitive of criticism, to do something, public is watching, public is seeing, press is watching, everyone is watching, and even judiciary, you are open to judicials, so you are open to media scrutiny, judicial scrutiny, you are open to public scrutiny, everything. Then you are required to be anonymous as public servant. If you are flamboyant and want to be recognized, some of the public servants are flamboyant, some of them get off, but many of them face really music for that. But that has to be kept in mind. Then opportunities: what are your alternatives, comparative merits, and plan B? Then threats: long, arduous, competitive cycle, adapting to changes, transfers, migration, language, culture, limited seats, fragmented in various services, geographical locations, and various competing roster groups. Now, you do your own SWOT analysis. No one else can do for yourself. So, after doing this strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat, you come to your conclusion: what really interests you, where you should be, whether this service is for you or not. And then start preparing today, and start looking forward and collecting material on that. Now, I have tried here to give you just a framework to do a SWOT. This is not a SWOT for you, which I can do. It is a comparative SWOT of various employment opportunities, rough, indicative. So do it for yourself, where you are trying to compare government sector, private sector, business and industry, social sector, non-profit, and entrepreneurship. Now, in India, somehow we have really created hype about government sector. Although rightly, Prime Minister said that Babus cannot do everything and we must change our mindset. And entrepreneurship is most probably neglected field. If you are best of the best, you should be an entrepreneur and you should develop your own enterprise. You should be job giver instead of job seekers. But if you have aptitude, as I said earlier, for social service and related issues, then come for civil services, join civil services. Now, entry barriers, government sector difficult, competitive exams are there, or some of the people also enter through temporary appointments, ad hoc appointments, and then regularization. But those are rare now. In technical service for doctors, some sort of engineers, and similar technical services of sometimes researchers and scientists, it may happen. But most of the others are by competitive exams, which are open to everyone. Private sector, business industry, less difficult. You have placements at your own doorstep. Wherever you are studying, you have internship and followed by appointments, etc. Similarly, social sector, you have less difficult placements based on internship and appointment. Then in enterprise, you may initially think it is a difficult thing, but if you have a flair for it, then it is a less difficult thing and it is a self decision, and you will be proud employer and you have command over your time and everything. You can plan out what you want to do. Now, travesty in India is that most of the people try for civil services. Now, one of the papers of Raghuram Rajan, earlier governors of RBI, was on waste of youth time in civil services. Now, we are talking here of only higher civil services, IAS and allied, but the colossal waste which happens, everyone who is 10th pass wants to be a peon or class 4 job he would like to have. And everyone who is 12th pass may like to have a class 3 job. Everyone who is a graduate wants to be in class 2 or class 3 job. And everyone who is above that wants government job. So everyone, and today the age limit is extended to 35 and for some categories even beyond 37. So if that is so and multiple times people are trying, so starting from their 10th, that is 16th year, and they are eligible for civil services only after 18 or 21 for most of the higher civil services. And so up to 35 years. So the most prime and productive age of the whole educated lot in India who have crossed 10th, who have crossed 12th, who have crossed graduation, are really giving these civil services, and which is really not helping the economy to grow. So that is a matter of concern. And civil services, if you are really interested and motivated, even if you have many chances to give, you should have a short approach of 3 chances, because giving for 10 times, you are losing your own prime time. You could have done much in other sectors. So don't neglect other sectors and other opportunities. Have a plan B and really get going in your employment as early as possible. Now, if we see compensation in public service, you have 4 different categories: Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D. Group D have 2 times the private sector, because in private sector and they will be giving just bare minimum wages, whatever law prescribes. Social sectors may not be even able to give that. Group C maybe 2 to 3 times of private sector, whereas in private wages will be given and very meager in social sectors. Now, Group B may be getting only 50% of the private sector, whereas in private sector, very high or high remuneration and other things will be there, and moderate in social sector. Now, equivalent of Group A, private sector will have very, very high in crores remuneration and moderate in social sector. But in government, it may be 5 to 10 times. And also one has to keep in mind that Group C constitute alone around 60% of government. And Group D may be another 20%. So 80% of the government is this alone. and it is also shrinking at the D level, because more and more now government wants to cut short its these 2 times private sector. So outsourced people will be there with minimum wage, bare minimum wage at that level, because no technical or any job which needs continuity is being done mostly there. So at the top, group A and B level, very few posts and far between are available. So that has to be kept in mind when you are trying to join government and civil services. Then strength in terms of socio-economic inclusion goals. Government sector is social service, public service, working for the society and country, and sustainability, social, economic, and environmental. So this is certainly very laudable goal, and this motivates everyone to get into. This compared to others is much better, but social sector also will have similar goals, and it will also provide opportunity at the field as well as policy advocacy level. And then in private sector, mostly you are working for maximizing private profits. But when you are yourself an entrepreneur, then your goals can be self-set and may balance between profit and social and environmental sustainability markers. Then extent of work, government sector has wide work content, less specialization, generalist managers are there, and enriching diversity is there. Whereas private sector may have focused and more limiting kind of job. Then social sector will have social, distributive, and inclusive goals. And similarly, permanence in government, it is seemingly permanent and predictable, and others, it may be looking temporary, but most of them may be permanent if one is tactful and going with diligence, etc., or changing really well at right time and going to some other organization and higher heights. Then weaknesses are there in government: fixed, difficult exit barriers, complex roster, political interference, unlimited liability of omissions and commissions for lifetime, restrictions of rules, conduct rules, transferable job, unsettling changes, non-specialization, seniority versus merit, overexposure to press, judicial scrutiny, public ways and scrutiny, etc. So just compare this with other sectors. Then opportunities, if your capacity may turn each weakness into opportunity to serve society, country, public, and collective cause, then certainly you are the right person to this. Now, as an end note, I would tell you, start with knowing the schedule of your sought after competition. Whichever competition out of these government jobs and openings which are there, you want to enter, you try to first identify them, try to read more and more about it, familiarize yourself with syllabus, because syllabus is very important. You have to be thorough with it. And question papers, how questions are asked, earlier years, what questions were there, how many sentences or words they have asked us to use, how much space they have given. And then try to find out type of questions, time, marking standards, because unless you are conversing with this, your preparation cannot be really be thorough. Try to put yourself in a test situation with earlier year papers and ask someone familiar with the exams to assess them and give you a feedback, because mere talking, mere listening may not really help. Today, there are umpteen material. You have so many coaching institutions, you have so many things on the net, and so many books and other things are available. But unless you really write yourself, your writing will make you perfect. And time yourself, within time you do that, start preparing and solve some of the questions in writing, study widely and have a network of like-minded persons, discuss and peer learn, because peer learning is possible. And those who have just gone out of your alma mater, wherever you are, discuss with them, because they will be in a position to say more, because they have taken probably the same subjects which you are trying to choose, and they will give you from where to study, what to do. Maybe some of them may be having their own notes, etc., which they can be able to provide. So with these, I think it is 12:45. So 15 minutes I will leave for questions and discussion. And it is also a learning experience for me. So let us uh, go and discuss. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your eloquent and insightful talk. It has definitely helped us gain the foundation we need towards our future endeavors. I'm sure the students and the audience would have earned an extensive amount of knowledge from his talk. Now, we would like to proceed with the question and answer session. As mentioned earlier, I request the audience to type in their questions in the YouTube comment section of the live stream. I will be reading out the questions to the speaker and I request sir to answer the same. We have a first question, sir. Do you think the privatization of PSUs will impact the career opportunities in government sector?
No, not at all. See, I just showed you government has very wide opportunity. PSUs are one. PSU within PSUs also everything cannot be privatized. So certain strategic PSUs will remain. Even if someone tries to privatize, many of them will remain. And generally speaking, government has little business to be in business, as Prime Minister said. So it certainly doesn't reduce, although it is an opportunity, but even if it becomes private sector, it remains an opportunity. So you can join the same PSUs. But one thing I will try to emphasize you, earlier permanence was more about this pensions. Now, pension benefit of government servant is one of the very, very important and critical benefit. Now, those benefits from the very beginning also were there for very little number of PSUs. Everyone was not having the pension benefit which government is having. It is a defined pension scheme, meaning when you retire, whatever your last pay drawn is there, wherever you have reached, 50% of that you get. And every 6 months after retirement, you get DA. And after 10 years, when new scales come, that is your pay commissions. So the pensioners also get a benefit. But let me tell you and clarify, because I couldn't say this thing earlier, that now there is no pension even for IAS. There is no pension for any government except two segments. One is armed forces, so they are much better positioned, because the old pension program and new pension program is very different. This new pension program is like private sector, where you are giving out of your salary 10% and 14% your employer, that is government, is depositing. And it is going to a corpus which is put in the market or fixed instruments. And whatever will be the outcome of that after your retirement, you will really be getting that as pension. So what you will find also, this is a reason why you should decide to give civil service earlier, join earlier, because if you are joining at 35, that means you have only 25 years to accumulate your corpus. You have already lost 15 years which you could have used. And if you know exponential growths, then 1 year also may, because in 1 year things can double, and in 1 year things can half. So if you your employment is cut short by 10 years or 15 years, you are really cutting your own retirement benefit. So you should be prepared for a short term, 3 years, 3 times giving up civil service. Beyond that, if you are trying and going beyond 35, then you will only repent. I will give you some insight on that. Suppose a person who had retired as Secretary to Government of India in 1990, his salary would have, his pension would have been 12,000. But today his pension is 1,30,000 because of this old pension program. But in new pension program, pension will not grow. You will remain at 12,000. Your family will cry, you will cry. Now this will not be known till the time first lot of people who joined without pension in 2004, 5 or later, they will retire and really have 10 years cycle of post-retirement experience. Then they will suddenly understand that there is no retirement benefit, which is a very good and decent retirement benefit. So take a choice which is informed, and based on that, take a decision. Okay.
So we have quite a few questions too, and limited time constraints. So we'll try to cover as much as possible. The next question will be, sir mentioned other groups, but can you please elaborate a bit more about group or grade class B and C, and how these jobs and their entrance exams are different from that of A posts? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, see, Group B is generally services, subordinate services, which is also at the officers level in government, gazetted officers. Like if you are conversant with the government of Karnataka, then Tehsildars level who are appointed, or at the level of even in the secretariat, etc., or inspector level, those who are appointed in the police, etc., sub-inspectors, those will be of this Group B inspector level jobs. But Group C is a clerical job mostly. So first division assistants, there are two different levels. One is second division assistant and another is first division assistant, or what is called graduate assistants. They are graduates only, and so compulsorily for that eligibility is graduates, and so they will be Group C. And at lower level Group C may be non-graduates also, those who have just passed 12th, so second division assistant and equivalent, those people may be there. So their work is more supportive in nature, but also some of them may be executive when they are inspectors and sub-inspectors and below. Of various departments, not necessarily police, because inspectors are there in almost, maybe in cooperatives, it may be in any department, what you can think of.
So next question is, what should be the strategy for an IAS exam when we are preparing by oneself without any institutional coaching?
Yes, coaching is today not required, as I said, because most of the materials are widely available. But to get an exposure, if a good coaching is there, because let me not endorse any specific coaching institution, that for yourself, you do some due diligence, discuss with those who have just appeared, because you may find so much of advertising by whether it is by Jews or Bajiram or anyone. I'm not endorsing any specific of these. But just for being thorough and informed that what do they give, because those who have studied them or gone there, they just by that no one has ever because if there are 1,000 people who or 10,000 people who go there, maybe one person, maybe 10,000 gets into service, but that is his personal effort and not really effort of. But definitely one exposure, if you have resources and wherewithal, can really, because one should not leave any blind spot, because it can be sometimes blind spot that some information gap is there. You don't know about the competition fully. Doubt, even if they are thorough and they can give you full insight. Your personal research and perseverance is very important. Go to Public Service Commission site, see what courses, syllabus, and types of questions. Everything is loaded there. You can download directly earlier years questions, etc. Those are much more informative. and seeing what type of on internet you will get what type of answer sheets are there. At present on in internet, interesting things are there because answer sheets of some of the earlier toppers who gave exams in these various coaching institutions, those are uploaded. So they may be much more illustrative because you will see what type of answers they write, how legibly and beautifully they write, and how precisely they write. They will give more insight. Yeah, thank you.
We do have few more questions, sir, but due to time constraints, unfortunately, we will not be able to take up any more questions from the audience. But we definitely appreciate your active participation in the session. Thank you, sir, for covering these queries from the audience. As we have come to an end of today's session, I would like to express my profound gratitude to everyone who has contributed to make this event a successful one. On behalf of the University Student Council and management of Christ Unity University, I take this opportunity to thank our keynote speaker, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar sir, for taking time out of his busy schedule and gracing us with his presence and enlightening us with his deep-rooted knowledge. I would like to thank the Controller of Examinations and Director of the Student Council, Professor Johnny Joseph sir, who has always been an inspiration and encouraged us throughout. Heartfelt thanks to Dr. Suja ma'am and Roy sir for their continuous guidance and motivation. I would like to acknowledge and appreciate the efforts from my fellow University Student Council members who are part of the event's technical and logistics committees for their consistent support, without which the smooth conduct of today's session would not have been possible. Last but not the least, I thank all the Christites present and all the external participants for joining us and being such a wonderful and participative audience. This has been such a beautiful session, and I'm very delighted to sign off. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.